Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis, a serial entrepreneur, international speaker, results strategist, business coach, mentor, and consultant. Today, I have an awesome guest. He is an entrepreneur, international speaker, facilitator, business coach, and owns 4 businesses. He teaches, he innovates, and he inspires to ensure you unpack your success. Welcome, Andy Bassett, and thank you for being on my show.
Hey, Athin, thanks so much. Hey, look, it's super exciting to be here. So I'm just excited to be here. Like, woohoo, here we are, 2021. Rock on.
Awesome, mate. So awesome to have you here as well. You know, it's I'm sure we're going to provide huge amounts of value for everybody watching and listening today. So, you know, you're a very successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself by telling us about you and your journey.
Yeah, cool. Look, thank you. Hey, look, you did a pretty good job before, hey? Look, for those of you obviously that are meeting me for the first time, listening in, look, what's to know? You know, I come from the country town of Dubbo in New South Wales. So I'm a country boy. You know, I'm here with my beautiful wife and 4 children, where we have really been able to, I suppose, live into what our vision is and really just tackle each day knowing that we're, you know, living life on our terms and really, I suppose, just impacting the next generation. And yeah, look, I'm sure over the next, you know, time that we are together, we're definitely going to dive into, you know, certain components of you know, business. And I suppose to give a little bit of clarity around, you know, what type of businesses I have. So in the health and fitness space, so I own 2 gyms, which they're actually my brand. And so they're not a franchise, even though I have franchised within myself. You know, and one of those businesses actually has almost 10% population of the town or the city as such that I live in, which is really cool. So that's one. You know, my wife and I, we have she owns a home birthing like medical center as such. You know, it's called the Centre Midwifery, which is an amazing business where there's herself and another fellow midwife, and they've got a GP obstetrician in there as well. So she's creating a new way for birthing options for all those mums out there, or mums to be, and that's really cool. And then yeah, look, in the business and the coaching, the consulting space, and also along in the marketing space there as well with a marketing agency. So look, to say that that I'm busy is probably a bit of a you know, maybe an understatement. But look, to be honest with you, I say yes when I want to say yes, and I say no when I want to say no. And what I do and how I live every single day is certainly on my terms. So for those of you that are obviously watching and you know, can see the Zoom, I am here in my home office. I work from home, which is amazing. Even though I've got the choice of a few different offices in some brick and mortar businesses, I love my home. I love the quietness. I love the fact that I can dip out and have a swim when it's 40 degrees. I just absolutely love it. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Hey.
I love it, mate. Amazing story there, and you know what you've built over time, and you know, I guess for the people that are maybe, you know, at the start of their journeys, right, that are listening to this, and you know, obviously, it's not like you woke up one day and you know, you just had all these 4 businesses and it was all sort of you know, easy swimming. I guess, you know, we've all had challenging upbringings, right, in a variety of ways, right, and I guess I'm sure for you, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on your child a little bit, or I guess as you in those early years of your adulthood, of, you know, what was the point, I guess, where you got that belief and you you know, put yourself on the path, I guess, to really living this out your way.
Yeah. And look, I suppose when I dive back into my childhood, look, I would say I had an amazing upbringing in terms of, you know, I had a fantastic, you know, and still do, you know, mother and father. I've got an older brother, younger sister, and I was able to compete at a very high level in gymnastics. So as a high competitive gymnast, so that's my background when you look at sports and what I'm really passionate about. And the one thing though that I always knew that was that I was very different. I was very focused. I just wasn't into the partying and the constant drama that was around me at 14, 15, 16 years of life. So I actually left school. I was about middle of year 9 was when I left school. So we had actually relocated and we'd moved to another town. My father had a transfer with his job. And to be honest with you, I just felt really lost, really lonely. And I also being a, high performance gymnast in a town where there wasn't a lot of gymnastics, did make it quite challenging. So I kind of looked at school and just thought it just was not for me. So that's when I really started to go straight into the workforce. And from probably the age of 15 to, honestly, I think I was about 27 years of age, I'd always had at least 2 jobs, at least one full-time job and then another part-time job or a casual job. And always things that I found that were super fulfilling, because in my opinion, you can go to do a job and, whether it's in retail or hospitality, but are you really enjoying what you're doing? And for me, I actually coached high performance gymnastics and ran a number of gymnastics centers for a good 10 years of my life. So I literally lived out every day in my passion. And it was at that point where I was kind of like looking for more. I hadn't done any, tertiary study or anything along those lines. So I was kind of looking for courses, and I went and studied in the fitness industry, got my certificates in that, and, started up the little side hobby of PTing and group fitness of a morning. And at one point, I had like 100 private clients. I was working full time. I was away every single weekend with the sport of gymnastics. And my wife and I, we had 3 children under the age of 3. So I have twins in there. So it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, and I use the word crazy, like life was really, really busy. And at that point as well, like my wife was working for the local hospital here. So it was kind of just at that point where I was like, right, I need to look at doing something a bit more long term and something that's going to keep me here in Dubbo with my family, because my family was growing. And that was when I actually, to be honest with you, I actually applied for the police force. So I was going to be heading off to the police force. I was accepted. And then I had a fella call me up and say, hey, look, Andrew, I've never met you, but basically I'm offering you a management position of a gym and I want you to come work for me. And I was like, oh, look, okay, well, let's have an interview, and had an interview, and, it worked really well. And I managed a gym for 9 months before I then purchased it. And that is, my business now, which is Fitness Focused Dubbo. And I've been the owner of that business now for nearly 8 years. And yeah, it kind of was just one of those things that I suppose when I look at the life that I've created now, I suppose I've always been a very big believer that the doors will open when they're supposed to open, and when they're closed, then obviously they're closed. Now, for me and my personality, I'm often someone that likes to try and, get that door open and push and, don't tell me no, like those types of things there. So I certainly had some lessons there that I had to learn. And in that process of, of basically buying, the business there was a lot of no's. I actually had 13 no's from financial institutions, and all I needed was one yes. And it was literally the last application, my business broker and myself, we went through. And when the yes came through, because at that point, like, who would want to lend money to what was I at that point, 26-year-old male, 27-year-old male, who has 4 children under the age of 5, like liabilities is all that the banks scream at there. You know, with a business that you know, was already an established business and just needed a touch of Andy. So that was, yeah, that's it. You know, and then moving forward, it's just kind of one after the other, and then dive deep into personal development and realize that I needed a coach, and you know, everything that I knew was great, but I sucked. I sucked. Like, I could sell, I could communicate, but I sucked. Like, I needed to know finances, and I needed to learn how to lead my team, and I had to learn marketing. Like, all these things. I've only been on social media for 7 years. Like, I had to go and learn all of this. And I had to be so okay with being a student. And because, you know, I think sometimes until we hit that moment in our life or our business when, you know, things do go south and we start to really question who we are, is this right for me? And yeah, it's been an incredible journey, which, you know, now to this point I've won a number of awards in entrepreneurship, and also my business for innovation and leadership, and WH&S as well, which is crazy. Like, all these different awards that, you know, that we've been recognized for now. It really has been an incredible journey.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like I've been talking. You know, good, I get passionate. So yeah.
I love the passion. I'm sure everybody watching and listening today can really, you know, resonate with that. And there was a lot of gold in that, you know, that you said, and to really understand people about the journey, about, you know, what Andy did. And there's, you know, there's a few key points there. And I think, you know, number one, you said towards the end was about how many times you heard the word no, right? And that's going to come up a lot in business, right? And I think we need to be comfortable with that rejection of the word no, and then it just means not yet. You just got to keep going. And you know, I know early on in my business journey, I always told when I was at my business, working for a company before, that I'd be good at sales, but never gave me the opportunity, right? And then when I got out, I was like, I got to do some sort of door-to-door type stuff, right? And that's like, you know, knocking on doors and trying to sell things to people. That's like the one where you get the most no's. I think I went to over 50 businesses in one day, right? And knocked on them and spoke to the managers, and, you know, got a huge amount of no's. I got a few yeses and, you know, a few sort of, you know, follow-ups and things like that. But it was that mentality to build into yourself, like, just keep going, right? And I implore people to do something like that, or just, you know, condition yourself, right? That it's okay. You're not going to get every opportunity. That's life, and it's not likely for a reason. You just keep going, and the right things will come at us. And then I think if you go a little bit earlier, what was interesting that I could resonate with your story as well about, like, I didn't finish school either. I left in year 12 a bit later than you. My last year, you finished a lot earlier. But what was more interesting was, you know, you said you were like a professional gymnast. And, you know, what actually they found, right, is that, especially with entrepreneurs that if you have done something that's very disciplined for a long time in your life, you're more likely to be successful, or you've got that built into you. You can still build it into yourself, but it's easier, I guess, if you've done that for a while. And that can be from sports, right? I played a lot of soccer and tennis, but you've done gymnastics, which is amazing, or even martial arts. Can be something that, you know, a lot of discipline, or things like that you've done over time that help you to get into that state, because it's going to get hard, right? Like, think about it. I can just imagine with you and with me, like, you know, you don't do perfect, you know, somersaults in gymnastics. You don't win the first place every time when you're there, right? You've got to, like, keep pushing yourself, right? And then eventually, you know, you keep going, and that's what makes you succeed at whatever level that is, right? Because there's, you know, all the way to the top of Olympics, which not a lot of us get there, but even at the smaller level of just competing that way is really there. So I think, you know, take that into yourself, that, you know, for the people listening, it is that discipline is really key, on, you know, to make sure that you're following what you're doing really in that. And like you said, with coaching and mentoring and stuff, it's just, we don't know what we don't know. And they really help us to do that. And like, I think the biggest one probably for a lot of people out there is that, you know, you're a father with 4 kids, right? And you've got, you know, many businesses, you know, and, you know, 4 businesses, and, you know, there's many business owners out there that are parents, right? and they find it challenging, right? I can imagine probably with 1 or 2 kids from the people that I speak to, let alone 4, right? So, how do you make that work in that dynamic?
I love it. I love it. It's probably honestly the number one question that I get asked. It's like, Andy, how do you do it? How do you do it? And look, for those of you out there that are watching, listening, that are parents, it never used to be like that. Like my life used to be a mess. I used to avoid responsibilities. I used to avoid taking the physical element of parenting out by delegating. So I've often had people comment on my level of leadership because I am a taskmaster. Like I can make sure that everything is done in sequence, exactly how it needs to be. And I could literally be laying on the lounge watching Netflix if I wanted to be. Not that I would. That's not me. And it's because I'm someone that is extremely resourceful. So, for example, this morning it was 7:30, and we had the lawn mowing guys come and mow our lawns. Like, I'm not going to mow my lawns because, in my opinion, that's time that's pulling away from my family. So, for me, where I am right now, it is about who is on my team. So I look at people like my lawn mowing guys, they're on my team. They go and do all the different businesses. My house is just included in that. Why should it be any different? The same as a cleaner. The cleaners go to all the different businesses. Why can't they just stop off at my place as well? And I had to learn that, Andy, you can't just keep on delegating out your parenting responsibilities like you do with your team members, for whether it's maintenance, whether it's for admin, accounts, et cetera, et cetera. And I was really good at delegating that stuff. And I was basically, so I could just work. So I could work 16 to 18 hours a day to literally come home, and I would give everyone else 100% of Andy. But then my wife was probably lucky to get 5%. And then even for myself, I was lucky to get, 1%. So it's not until you often have that breakdown that you actually realize and understand. And for me, I got really sick, and I actually ended up in hospital for quite some time. Not quite a nervous breakdown as such, but my body just broke down. I got meningitis, and it wasn't until you're kind of laying there and you think to yourself, it's like, do you know what? This isn't happening. This isn't working. Like, this isn't how life should be. I was I suppose what you would look at as a level of success at that point, and this was about 5 years ago in my journey, and just before I turned 30, it was, and yeah, like things were going, they were going okay, but clearly I had to really come in and do a lot more work on myself, and do a lot more work on Andy, a lot more work on making sure that it was okay for me to say no, because I am a recovering people pleaser. I'm in the health and fitness industry. It's about accommodating, it's about adapting, it's about doing this and doing that. But little did I realize that I was actually disempowering them, disempowering myself. So I had to go through that level of pain in order to come out the other side and to go, right, I need a coach. I need someone. Who can I learn from? So that's when I got a coach, and that's when I learned how to come in and really focus on just driving cash flow into the business. So that way I could develop the systems and the strategies that were needed to then delegate. So that way I could actually, delegate certain tasks there, but also at the same time, I needed to do the work on myself. Because the reason why I worked 16 hours a day was because of a choice, and it was because I didn't trust other people, massive control freak, and a friend of mine once said to me, he said, Andrew, you need to always go into a situation and not expect that it's done, but you need to inspect that it's been done. And then if it hasn't been done to what your standards are, then you need to then go in there and coach and mentor and teach, so that way they can get to the standard that you're after. So, because, if you're just sitting back there and firing the bullets and saying, do this and do this and do this, like, it's just going to tear you down. So I think often with leadership that people think that it's all external, where external is kind of the byproduct of working on the internal. Because for me, I had to release the control and just go, it's okay. Like, it's okay for me to not be at my business. In 2019, I actually wasn't in my business, I think, for nearly 9 weeks, as I traveled, Ayers Rock, the US, and Bali, all in the space of 9 to 10 weeks, and everything was fine. Like, Andy, you put on a manager, let them manage. You put on a bookkeeper, let them do the bookkeeping. You put on a marketing person, let them do the marketing. So by me working on me and developing the level of growth that I had to develop, and that mindset has allowed me to now only work basically between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. I drop my kids off to school every day. I pick them up every single day. I coach gymnastics a few afternoons a week with my boys, my twins that do gymnastics. I don't work weekends. I couldn't tell you the last time I worked a weekend. Like, it didn't work yesterday, being Australia Day. Like, it's now, life is very different. But the thing is I had to be prepared to release the control and be prepared to really go through that level of growth there, to go, okay, you know what? Sometimes my team will get it right 100%, and other times it's not gonna happen. There had to be a bit of a growth and a bit of a cost there at times. So that would be where my secret would come into play there, as a dad with 4 kids and and a wife that works on call. So, and I'll just add that in there as well. So if one would say, who is I hate the language, the primary caregiver, of your of your family or your children, as such, like, it's myself. Like, I'm the one that's part of the PNC with the school. I'm the one that goes to the meetings. My wife still comes in. Absolutely, we're a team. But I'm the one that does all the communicating. I'm the one that buys the back to school stuff. I'm the one that organizes the excursions. I'm the one that, does all these things. And I don't say that from a place of, look how good I am. I choose to do this. Like, this is, I had to go through the crap down here, go through the self-worth, go through the lack of self-worth, go through the questioning, you're not good enough to be a parent. I had to go through all of that to come out the other side, to fall in love with me first. So then I could fall in love with my family at 100% and give them, 100% of Andy, and not just the leftovers that, that would often, happen of a night time, as, I'd call them from work to kiss them goodnight, FaceTime them, like, that's not parenting, and it was like, in the moment, like, it's what I felt I had to do. So I certainly don't have any regrets. I don't believe that life is about regrets. I believe that life is about making these decisions in the moment, backing yourself, and then just being okay with that, and then moving forward to go, rightio, well, how can I find a better way for that? And that's probably what my secret is there. I don't use the word balance. I don't use the word like alignment. And I don't have ice baths either, just to throw in there, or cold showers. Maybe I'm the only coach that doesn't do that. I just believe in being authentic and real, and and when there's those moments where family life is really, really easy and I can increase the demand of work, I'll do that. Or when there's those moments where family is a bit on the stressful side, we've got a lot happening, I can decrease work. Like, I love the fact that, I suppose, I look at my life like a seesaw. teeterboard, and as one goes up, the other might come down a little bit, and vice versa. I just balance that out as best as I can.
Yeah, awesome, mate. So many amazing points there that you shared, and I love the part about what you said about working on yourself, right? In that bit, that was really important, and choosing yourself, right? And saying, okay, what do I want to do? How do I want to live my day? My life, my business, and all of that, and what's important to you, right? To us, and really prioritizing that in what I do, and then working out, okay, if you're someone here and you're working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, it's like, okay, how do I reduce that? If you're working 12 hours, how do I get that down to 10 or 8, right? So that I can spend time, whether it's relaxing by yourself or doing your own things that you want to do, or whether it's connecting with your partner or your families, or whatever it is. How do you do that? And then, work out a plan. And sometimes it may be easy for you to work out yourself. Other times, like Andy said, we need coaches, we need mentors, we need people to help us to say, hey, I've done this before. These are different ways that you can do it. Build cash this way so you can hire somebody this. Like Andy was saying, what are the ways that we can really enjoy that? And yeah, so many awesome points there, Andy. Really amazing to hear. And I love your authenticness. You can definitely feel it. And I completely agree with nothing's ever balanced. There's no such thing as a work-life balance these days. It's
people sell that. That's like their whole business. So sorry, guys.
Right?
Not for me anyway. Yeah.
That's it. And I heard a term that I liked. It was work-life blend, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is very powerful to hear about that, because especially when you're the entrepreneur, the business owner, whether it's one business, multiple businesses, it's part of what you do, right? Your family is part of that, right? Whether they're working in your businesses with you or whether you're just there, and it's like, you just need to work through that. And like Andy said, sometimes you're going to need to get up a little bit earlier or do a little bit more work later from time to time. That just happens. That's business, right? In what you've got to do. Or you may have an event on that you've got to do over the weekend that you don't normally not work weekends normally, but you know what? It's going to help, yourself and your business and things. So we do those things, but then at the other times, we enjoy ourselves as well. As much as we can. And it's sometimes a bit more challenging when you're at the start of your journey, because you normally got to push a little bit more to get sort of that momentum first, so you can get to that point. But that's where that help from coaches and mentors can really help us, so that we can become Andy as well.
If I can just drop something in there quickly, and I was only sharing this with my clients recently. It was in my 2021 Kickstarter event, and often there's businesses out there that they believe that they need strategies, and they believe that they need a sales guru. They believe that they need this, and they believe they need that. Like they believe that they're looking for that, consultant or mentor to actually teach them the how of, how do we do this, and how do we do that, and how do we do that. I can tell you that my business 3x'd by me working on me, and that was with a life coach. That was with someone that came in there to talk about the hard things with me, to talk about relationship struggles, relationship breakdowns, to talk about what it really is to me to be a parent, really is to be a business owner. Like, why is it that I get up of a morning? Really looking at your purpose. Like, I believe that there's so many business owners out there that are just chasing the next best shiny object, and they're there going, oh, I need this, and I need this, and I need this, and it's like, no, it's crap. It's like, you can have all of the shiny, the latest course, worked with this person and that person. You can have all of that, but is it really going to bring fulfillment? And I think people think that they've got to work on the external first, and then the internal will heal, where it's actually the complete opposite. Because this is why that there's so many miserable business owners that, would be seen in the external as successful, walking around that are just miserable. They haven't worked on the hard stuff. And look, for the listeners out there, if it means looking at getting a life coach and doing a 12-week course or a 6-month course, if it means going and talking to a psychologist, go and talk to them. Like I'm the first to say I still talk to my psychologist every roughly 6 to 8 weeks, for a mental health check-in. Like I think to myself, I'm like, my wife and I, we have 2 cars. We go and book them in at the mechanic to get serviced. Why do we not check our brain into a psychologist or a coach or someone that we respect in the field of psychology that can, talk about the hard stuff? Why do we not check in and do that? We're so quick to go to the chiropractor or the massage therapist when our back's broken, but when our mind is totally effed, we just keep going. It doesn't make sense, because the one thing that we can control is how we respond, not react. Like, we don't want to react in this world. We want to respond, because we're modeling everything to our children. And look, for myself, I am an incredibly proud father. My children are literally like these mini Andys. Literally, my boys are. They're a spit image of me. But when they talk, when they breathe life into other kids, and when other kids talk about their struggles, and they're like, "Oh, you should come talk to my dad," or my dad will come talk. Like, I love it. Like, I'm called the cool dad at school. Yeah, dad will teach you how to flip on the trampoline. Come over and have a swim. Like, I think to myself, it's like, I wouldn't be seen dead with my parents at school when I was in year 7 or year 8. Like, how embarrassing, that's me. But then, my children today, they're like, "Dad, you coming in?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. Heck, I've got to, carrying all the back to school stuff, like," and I think, and I walk in there and they're like, "Hey, Andy," like all these kids, they're singing out. And the boys are like, "Yeah, Dad, like this is cool. Like, we're so glad to be back at school." Like, I think to myself, I'm like, the one thing that parents need to remember, and look, for those parents that are listening, remember that sticks and stones will break your bones, and names will hurt children as well. Remember, we model excellence. We model our standards. We model how we regulate emotions. We model all of these things to our children. And if you think to yourself, "God, my daughter's a bitch," and excuse the language there for a moment, if that crosses your mind, remember, monkey see, monkey do. End of story. There is no one else that you can blame. Now, I'm not here to convict you of your parenting, and I certainly don't claim to be a guru when it comes to parenting, but I understand when it comes to our psychology, when it comes to growth, success, our psychology that comes to learning. And we have these incredible little people here, that are walking around, and all that they're doing is this: they're looking and they're going, "I'm going to take that, I'm going to take that, I'm going to take that." Like, often you've probably heard the expression that they're a sponge, and they just absorb all the information inside of them. Well, I can tell you that it is true. And just imagine for a moment that if they do absorb all of this incredible information into them, and at the same time, not only life skills and knowledge, but imagine if they absorb the kindness. Imagine if they absorb the love. Imagine if they absorb the thoughtfulness that comes to their friends and to their teachers and to their peers. Like, just imagine these incredible gifts that these children can absorb. Just imagine what that's going to mean for their life as they grow up into be whoever and whatever that they choose to be. Just imagine that. And then how they're then going to carry on your family name. And then the comments that you get is, "Gosh, Andrew, your daughter Imogen, is just such a blessing. I noticed that she didn't have, that her friend didn't have any food today and she gave her food." Like, we give without expecting to receive anything. And as much as I have these huge goals and aspirations up here for my children, realistically, I don't care what they turn out to be. I care about who, as a person, they turn out to be, and the change that they can create in this world. Because I know that my wife and I, we are working so damn hard at us modeling excellence, us showing how we regulate our emotions and our feelings, which, remember, like, they're there to be expressed. They're not there to be suppressed down here. You know, they're there to talk about. And this is the greatest gift that we can give our children, is to talk about the tough things in life, to talk about the struggles. Like, literally, we can talk about anything to our children. And it's because we have modeled this to them from a place of vulnerability, you know, from a place of being seen, heard, and understood, because that's what children want. That's what you want. That's what I want. You know, we don't ask for a lot in this world. However, we all want to be seen, heard, and understood. So this is where I truly believe that there is such a huge power and a shift that's going to be coming with parenting, that it's no longer the do as I say, not what I do type of mentality. It's no longer a kid should be seen, not heard mentality. Like, that level of crap is out the window. No kid buys into that BS these days. No kid. No adult buys into that. So this is where we have two choices as a parent. As a person, as a business owner, you know, we have two choices. We can either give up and wipe off whatever's left here in life and just go, well, that's just how it is. Or we can choose to get better, and we can choose to bring that level of awareness to our mind. We can go and seek, just ask for help, be around courageous, incredible people, and really just get a bit of a plan, you know, and know that it will happen in perfect timing. May not happen in 1 month, may not happen in 6 months. For goodness sake, like, it took 3 years of pain for me before I had to literally be, I felt like, on my deathbed, you know, to actually realize, you know what, Andy, like, you have so much here. You have everything, you know, and when people say, oh, you know, you're just lucky, you know, you've hit it, luck. There's no luck. It's been a hell of a lot of hard work, and there's been a hell of a lot of tough conversations, and there has just been a lot of reflection on my own true values as a man, and then going, how am I going to go into this world and give 100% of Andy? So that way I know that I can die tomorrow, leave this world, and know that I have already left an indent in society that, you know, would look at and go, you know, wow, like, what a courageous man. What a man that, you know, did this and did that, and you know, showed up for his family. Look at his children. You know, because I think until sometimes, actually, and if I'm, what's the program? I first did it, 7 Habits, you know, and I remember doing that program. I was about 24 years of age. And this is when it kind of first sparked a few little things around personal development, when you had to write a letter, as in, like, what would people say about you at your funeral? And I was kind of like, oh, wow, like, I'm 24. Who thinks of that? I was married. I had 1 child, and I think Rach was pregnant with the twins. You know, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think of that. So now, you know, 10 years on from there, I do think of that. And I think I want to leave this world knowing that I've left it, you know, a little bit better. So.
Yeah, that's amazing segment there, Andy. Thank you so much. I could really feel that from you, and I'm sure everybody else watching and listening today will do that as well. And it's so true. And you know, like the saying says, be the change you want to see in the world. And and it always starts with ourselves, right? Because it's very easy. Like what's been happening in a lot of previous generations is that the parents bring up the kids, and then the next generation do a lot of the same things that the parents did before, right? And then it was like just a cycle, and it was pretty similar, things like that, and not much would change. Now with these new tools, we're learning more about mindset, emotional regulation, about different things like that, that we're going, okay, wait a minute. There is actually these things that our parents did when we were younger, or told us when we were younger, that they just got told themselves, that they passed down, that is limiting us, right? And it's like, okay, let's change that, right? Let's have that awareness and change that. Go, you know what? I'm not going to pass this on to my kids. I don't want to do that. Whether you had kids yet, or you before, or you already have them, you can still make the change, right? And the earlier the better, but it's never too late. And then once you do that, it's like, okay, what do I want to emanate as myself? What do I need to work through and have that awareness and those beliefs? And then how do I pass that on, to your family and kids and that? And it's not, this is obviously massive for life, right? But it's also translated to business, because, the better you are as a person, then the better you have time with your family, then the more you can give to your business as well for those periods of time, right? That you're working in that business. And then at the same time, it's also understanding with your staff, like us, as coaches and mentors, we also, have to like manage staff, right? And things like that. So there's going to be things that we can pass on and coach and mentor our staff on how to help them, and to make that change in them and their lives as well. And then obviously implore everybody, like Andy said, get your own coach, or if you have to go to, a psychologist or somebody else, a therapist in the standard system, whatever resonates with you. It is very powerful. It's had massive differences on myself, and whether you want to go the standard system, obviously the coaching system, it's got some great things like NLP, and there's a lot of other things that can be used, right, to change the patterns that we portray in ourselves. And massive differences, because Andrew, I'm sure you will agree that us as business coaches, we can teach the same strategies, tools, and things to 10 people, and we're going to get 10 different results, right? And a lot of the time it's because
just
of
a little bit. Yeah.
Because of all the things that are holding them back, right? In them, everyone's different, and we're all on a different journey, and but that's okay, and we aim to help people as much as we can, or they can obviously help themselves as well in other ways. And that's what really is going to get us forward. It's only we're the only people really that can hold us back in life.
And look, I think for so many of us, we do such a great job at doing that on a daily basis. Such a great job. And for those, for your listeners, that are watching, watching today, for example, all it takes is just one person to breathe life into you. All it takes is just that one person to cheer you on just a little bit more. All it takes is, it could be that coach. It could be that person, that friend that is a really positive influence. Because the one thing that I know is, and look, I did leave this bit out of my story there, and I'll give you the very, very quick version of it, is when I was going from employee to employer as such. So when I worked for the business, before I purchased the business, I actually never really believed that I could be a business owner, like a brick and mortar business owner. Yes, I had created a bit of a PT business outside and, was doing really well, but, I certainly didn't have the overheads and the expenses like a brick and mortar business would, nor to think, a few $1 million worth of equipment. It wasn't until I used to train this gentleman, and a really, really incredible gentleman. And we became great friends. And he once said to me, so I was PTing him and having a PT session, and he said, "Oh, is that the owner?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "I believe he's showing around someone who wants to buy the business." And he said to me, he goes, "Why don't you buy it?" I'm like, "I can't do that. No way. Like, I'm not one of those people. Like, a business owner is someone who is like born into money and wealth, and you're smart and you've been to university. I'm like, dude, I dropped out in year 9, and I swear my wife has the Cert 3 and Cert 4 in fitness that I have, because she helped me so much. Like, you don't understand the struggles that I have with education and learning. And he said to me, he goes, nah, he goes, you can buy this place. He goes, you've got a house. I said, yeah. Like, at this point, my wife and I had just purchased our first house, which was, $170,000, I think it was our first house. And he said, you just need to talk to the right people. And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, rightio. Like, I was just like, yeah, big, far dream that I could only ever think of was kind of going through my mind. Anyway, we finished the PT session, and he called me that afternoon, and he goes, Andy, tomorrow at 10 a.m. And I said, yeah. And he goes, can you gather this, and we're going to speak to a business broker. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, I've got to work. He goes, no, you don't. He goes, you told me that you didn't start work till 12. I'm like, damn you. So, and it was that moment. Like, it wasn't until that moment that, someone else, believed in me more than I believed in myself. It wasn't until that moment that I just thought, holy moly, like, could this be possible? And yeah, I had the meeting. The guy was positive. He was like, yep. He goes, we'll either get the funding through this or this or this, the money, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool. And look, it took about 2.5, 3 weeks to get everything approved, and, the official yes and the sign off. And I just remember, signing the paperwork there for, owning a business. And I just remember like walking in there. And at this point, the gym that I now own, like I still own now, it wasn't 24 hours. And just to bring some context here to the size as well, like, it's 2,500 square meters. It's a $3 million facility. And I was just there walking in on the day that the changeover was. And I just remember sitting down and just like looking around like this. I've got beautiful big like arch, like it's incredible, the architecture in my gym. And it was at that moment that I was just like, wow, like, because someone believed in me more than what I could ever believe in myself, is the reason why, I have been able to then move forward at the rapid pace that I have to go and transform lives and to change lives on many different levels. Because what business does is, as I said to you, my thinking, which had served me really well to the point that I was at, my thinking had served me to the point of going, okay, well, business owners are like a whole nother breed. Therefore, what did that mean? Myself, just like many people, place business owners on a pedestal. They're the courageous ones. They're the ones that take all the risks. They're the ones that that pay everyone first as such before paying themselves. Mind you, though, that's not what I do. I pay me first, then everyone. It's a little bit of a for the mind there. Anyway, another lesson, another day. But this is the thing. So with business, that's what I had to come in and think to myself, was like, rightio, well, what level of impact am I going to have now? And people do. Like, people walk into my facility and look, I'm only ever there a couple of hours a week. And, I see that people's, their faces light up when they see me, because like, I get no work done when I'm in there. I'm the first to say, like, no work. Like, I'll have a meeting and people will come and interrupt me. Like, who interrupts a meeting? And they're like, oh, Andrew, I just want to say hi. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Kind of having a meeting here. Like, this is just an interview with a new team member or whatever, But hey, look, it's amazing. Like, I love the fact that business has been able to be this platform for me to move forward and do what what I wanted to do. And it's because of that one person, that one person that believed in me for business. Now, my wife is incredible. She believes in me. She always knew that I could do things. To have someone that knows the right people. I didn't even know what the freaking heck a business broker was. Like, I was 26 years of age. I'm like, what is that? So that would be my lesson and my mission now, I suppose, that I look at. I'm like, if I can be that one person that just breathes life into this person, that breathes life into that person, they can borrow my mindset. It's always on loan. More than happy to impart a bit of Andy into everyone. And if that's what it can be, to allow people to really step into their true values and their true mission and purpose for what they want to create in this world, then I know that business will give them a platform. And I'll say that again, business will give you a platform. Because I had a business, it allowed me to win 7 brick and mortar business awards. It allowed me to speak at this event. It landed me on this stage. It's because this, but it's also because I chose that as well. There's plenty of incredible business owners out there that, don't speak on stages, that don't mentor, that don't, do anything along those lines. They just, they rock up to their business and they blow their team members' minds and their customers' minds and give everyone an incredible journey. And that's amazing. That really is amazing. And I commend every business owner. And then I just like to say, but just imagine if we could just add 10% more. As you're talking to your client there, just imagine if you could just breathe this little bit of life into them, impart that idea, empower that idea. So that's me. That's me in a tea, hey? Love to just breathe life into people.
Yeah. Awesome, Andy. Like completely agree with all of that. That was just amazing. I implore everybody to listen back on that segment, even the whole thing. It was amazing. And and to find, potentially be later as well yourself, find that one person, that trusted advisor, that coach, that mentor that helps us to believe in ourselves, that we are worthy of the things that we want in this life and that we are capable of that. Such a great message, Andy, and it's really awesome to hear that story and show that it is possible for anybody, to do what they want to do. You just need to find the right people to help us along that journey. So, we met, through our networks, and we have a mutual coach, and you're an inspiration to all of the parents that own businesses, as well as anyone who owns multiple businesses, by showing them that they can have it all on their terms and, enjoy success as well. You're a great guy, very authentic, and, I'm sure you'll continue to help more and more people as you grow yourself as well. And I'm very grateful, that we connected, and, I look forward to working with you in the future as well, Andy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time today, Andy. I'm sure, many people have greatly benefited from your wisdom. So how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Hey, look, my main business as such, yes, it is fitness focused. So look, if you're ever in Dubbo and you want to pop into a gym and say hi, fitness focused Dubbo. So we do have 2 different locations. Just give it a little plug for the women that are having babies that would love a home birth. Speak to my wife. No, look, seriously, unpacksuccess.com is my website. It's currently being recreated at the moment. I think it's almost done, to be honest with you. But yeah, unpacksuccess.com, and you'll see the business tab there, and you'll also see my marketing agency as well that's there as well. So look, guys, I'd love to connect with you. So whether it's online through the website or through social media, go for it.
Awesome. Love it. And just for the international people that are watching and listening, Dubbo is about 5 hours inland from Sydney, right? So it's a fair distance for driving out there. So it is in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't necessarily just come to Australia just to visit Dubbo, but it is a lovely little country town. And
oh, hey, look, can I just add in there? We do have traffic lights. We are 40,000 people. We've got 3 shopping malls. It may not quite be the size of a Westfield in Sydney. We do have a big bridge here. It's not as glam as the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but we do have an awesome zoo. So you'll have to pop out and come and visit, our incredible zoo that we have here. And it's an incredible place. But look, we love Dubbo. It's often known as the heart of the Central West. So you've got to go through Dubbo wherever you go, whether it's north or south. So it's cool. It's fun.
Awesome, guys. You hear that? Get to Dubbo and, enjoy everything that it has to offer, and say hello to Andy if you're lucky as well while you're there. So, thank you everyone for watching and listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way we know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. Have a great day.